introduce you Tunahan Oduncu. He will speak about exploring hot creative trends and optimization tips in puzzle games. He's from SocialPeta.
Hello everyone, welcome to my speech. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Tunahan Oduncu. I am the Business Development Manager at SocialPeta for about 2 years. I will introduce about SocialPeta, what is SocialPeta to you at first. Today's topic, we are going to cover some hot creative trends, marketing trends, and puzzle game insights. First, I would like to mention with SocialPeta, now it's much better. SocialPeta is an ad intelligence tool. What we do is we provide ad data. With our platform, you can check your competitors' ad data and get ad data from networks, media, and advertisers around the world to inspire you. Unique points of SocialPeta covers more than 70 countries and regions and over 70 well-known channels like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and Unity. Our database is so huge. We have around 1.6 billion ad creatives data in our platform. It's a very large platform. And what makes us unique, we also provide daily updates, around 1.2 million ad creatives data into our platform each day. It's a fast updation system. In our system, you can catch best ad creatives. There are some parameters like duration time, impressions, popularity, and interactions. So with these parameters, we can quickly locate the high quality ad creatives to you to help you with your marketing plan. We are one of the world leading advertising and marketing platforms. Our database is huge, and we are working with thousands of game companies, and we are helping them to grow in marketing. Today, I'm going to discuss about 4 main topics. First, I'm going to talk about what global mobile game marketing trends last year, 2023. Next topic will be marketing trends in puzzle mobile games. And third topic will be top puzzle game advertisers around the world. And last topic, analysis of popular puzzle game ad creatives. Some of you may have been wondering why puzzle games, because puzzle game advertisers are rising around the world and it's gaining popularity around the world. First, we are going to check the last year trends for mobile games. What happened last year? What was the trends? We are going to check about this. First, this is the chart of monthly active advertisers and monthly creatives. First, I will check this data and I will explain what this data means. In 2023, there were over 40K monthly active advertisers, and we saw an increase of active advertisers, nearly 50% year over year. And most of the media buying, especially most of the creatives in the beginning of the year, January, February, and in July, June, May. So this data shows that monthly active advertisers are rising like around more than 40, there were over 40K monthly active advertisers, but monthly creatives declined around more than 36%. This means that there are more active advertisers, but there are less ad creatives. So this data shows us that coming up with good ad creatives is much more important than ever before. Yes, especially in the time of hyper casual, there were lots of ad creatives, but the quality was not so important. Quantity was much more important. But last year, especially when we look at these trends, the quantity is much more important than quantity. So coming up with good creatives is very crucial. In the second chart, we are going to check advertisers with new creatives and new creatives percentage. Another last year trend was that advertisers were coming up with new ad creatives because in the market is more competitive and you have to come up with new creatives. You have to refresh your ad creatives. You have to come up with new creatives. And quarterly advertisers with new creatives more than 56K, and there's an increase advertisers with new creatives in 2023. More than 90% of advertisers in 2023 came up with new creatives. They refreshed, they changed their creatives. And quarterly new creatives also increased in total. especially in the second half of the year, the percentage was around 80%. So this data shows us that you have to come up with new creatives, you have to refresh your creatives, and it's much more important as we see here in this chart. Here in this chart, we are going to check percentage of advertisers for mobile games, for each game genre and creatives. First of all, as you probably know, most of the game advertisers were casual game advertisers. Like more than 36% of advertisers were casual advertisers last year. And in the second chart, we can see puzzle. And here in this data, we can see quarter-over-quarter and year-over-year. Especially for puzzle games, when we check this data, there's an increase. The most increase was in puzzle games. So puzzle game advertisers increased the most last year. Year-over-year growth more than 2%. But there were some games like casino games and like arcade games, their advertisers declined. And here in this chart, we can see total creatives of each genre. For example, in the first chart, nearly 40% of creatives were casual creatives. And in the second part, we can see puzzle games. Now we are going to check Q1 2024 marketing trends in mobile puzzle games. Here we are going to check top 10 puzzle games by advertising in Q1. It was a very competitive market. In the first chart, we can see by advertising Block Blast by Hungry Studio in the first rank, and in the second rank we can see Block Puzzle, and in the third part we can see Royal Match for iOS. And when we check the Android, we can see in the first chart Braindom from Matchingham Games. In the second place, we can see Block Blast, and in the third place, we can see Garden Affairs. Now we are going to check each region. So if now you have a puzzle games, but what's the market? In which region you have to target, or which region is most competitive? For puzzle games, the most competitive markets are the United States and Europe. Especially in the United States, most ad creatives per advertisers in the United States. So almost one advertiser had 147 creatives in Q1. This means that the United States is the most competitive market. Most of the advertisers for puzzle games were in Europe region. And in this third region, we can see Southeast Asia. But there's no doubt that for puzzle games, the most competitive markets, the United States and Europe. Now we are going to check ad creatives different lengths. For example, you have a video game creative for puzzle games, but for example, you want to check what's their length, what's your video creative should be by length. For example, we saw that 30 seconds video creatives accounted for around 42% of all monthly new creatives for puzzle games. Most of the preferred ad creatives for video type was between around 30 seconds video creatives. Here there's a detailed analysis. And for image creatives in different formats, most of the formats for puzzle games image creatives were vertical and horizontal, and square creatives were also popular. Here in this chart, for example, we can check observations about advertising of puzzle games in the past 1 year. In the green color, you can see Android, and in the blue color, you can see iOS. So most of the advertisers were Android. And in the orange color, you can see percentage of new creatives. From April 2023 until now. So they mostly preferred Android platform, and there was a peak of new creatives, especially January 2024. We can explain this that most of the ad creatives are in the beginning of the year or in May and June, according to our report. And most of the, as I explained here, advertisers on iOS, Android, we have different charts. On iOS, around 40% of advertisers for puzzle games, and on Android, more than 60%. And here we can see which game, for example, which type of creatives they used. Most of the preferred method for puzzle games were video formats, but there's an interesting data here. Yes, most of the video creative types were in video format, but also image creatives were gaining popularity for puzzle games. As you see from here in this chart, for example, percentage of impressions of ad creatives by type. In the blue color, you can see video ad creatives impressions. So as we see, they have been declining until now. But image creatives and playable creatives impressions are rising. That's because for image creatives, we saw many popularity for AI-generated image creatives. So there are more AI creative image creatives. So impressions of image creatives were gaining popularity. This explains because AI sometimes generates very good creative image creatives. So image creatives impressions are rising. But also playable ads are also rising for puzzle games. And when we check impressions per ad creative for puzzle mobile games in Q1, iOS more than 231,000 and Android more than 169,000. Most of the impressions on iOS. Now we are going to check the third topic, marketing insights into top puzzle game advertisers. We are going to check some advertisers. First of all, we are going to start with Royal Match. Maybe some of you are playing Royal Match and you are a very fan of Royal Match. We are going to check the success story of Royal Match in marketing. So here in this chart, we can see which kind of creatives they used in their promotion strategy in Q1. Royal Match was the highest grossing of all Match 3 and Plus X games. And Royal Match first started advertising July 2020 until now. And they mostly preferred United States, UK, Australia, and Japan. And most of their video creative types were in video platform. And they mostly targeted on iOS platform. And their games creatives on iOS were more than 1.35 times that on Android. And here in this chart, we can see especially their creatives peaked in the late 2023 with over 4,500 creatives on one day. So they are very active, especially at the end of the year, at the end of the 2023. Now we are going to check one of their best ad creatives. Why is this creative so successful? First, they advertised on YouTube platform, and their targeted country was Australia. So in this creative, we are going to check. It starts with, what do you do for a living? We can see real people. I'm going to also play this. This is a very short platform, short video platforms. What do you do for a living? It's really popular because we will see in the creative, what do you do for a living? And the character explains about the game, and it's very attractive. Let me play it.
What do you do for a living? Can't talk right now. My only job is to save the king. Hey, hold on. Who's this king? King Robert. Royal Match. Is that the game everyone's talking about? Yeah, it's completely free. And it's challenging, yet fun. The best part is, not a single ad. And there's this king named Robert, and he's always in trouble. Yeah, but who is after this king? If you want to find that out, you'll have to download Royal Match.
As we see, they are not showing any part from the game, but they are leading to play you the game with real people. This kind of advertising is very popular for especially the Royal Match adopted this kind of promotion strategy in their advertising. And this ad creative got estimated more than 3.7 million impressions. And we can see 17K estimated conversions with this creative. And now we are going to check the second game, Block Blast. It's like a Tetris-like puzzle game. Maybe you already played Tetris games before. I was also a fan of Tetris games like this. This is by Hungary Studio. And they also mostly preferred video platform for their games creatives. More than around 94% of creatives were in video platform. And they mostly targeted USA, Indonesia, India, and Mexico. As we see here, this block blast also targeted like regions like in Asia, like Indonesia, India, and Mexico, even from Latin America. So they diversified their marketing strategy in different countries. And when we check here, most of their creatives peaked in December of 2023. They published with over 8,000 creatives on one day. It's a very huge number. Now we are going to check one of their best ad creatives, why this creative is so successful. So this is a classic Tetris game. But what makes this creative attractive is the sound. You will understand me. Because there's a sound. For example, there's a metallic sound. And when you play it, there's an explosion sound. So as we see in this creative, the sound is very attractive. For example, when people hear this metallic sound and when you pair objects, there's an explosion sound. It makes this creative very attractive. Normally it's like a just Tetris game, but what makes it attractive is the sound. And this creative got more than 75,000 estimated impressions. And they advertise on TikTok. And release date on January 2024. Now we are going to check Twisted Tangle by Rolik Games. These games creatives were also mostly preferred video platform, and the second, more than 94% of creatives were in video platform. They mostly targeted United States, UK, Germany, and Canada. And most of their advertising activity in mid-January 2024. In the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned that most of the creatives were released in the beginning of the year, or in May or June. Most of the game advertisers prefer creatives in the beginning of the year, and the peak was on the mid-January 2024. So this is also one of creatives, and why this creative is so successful. There's a sound here. There's one person explaining about the game, and it's best no Wi-Fi game. Sometimes you don't have Wi-Fi, for example, and you want to play a game, you want to enjoy a game. And they emphasize those best no Wi-Fi game. And failing is an element in this game creative. When you see a failure, users want to correct this failure. Okay, there's a failure here. I want to play this game, and I want to correct this failing. And now let's watch this game creative.
Best no Wi-Fi game, part 69.
As we see, I cannot untie the knot. There's a failure here. He or she cannot play the game. They can't solve the problem. So they want users to play this game and solve this problem. And there's also a sound, as you hear from here. This is also a
Best no Wi-Fi game, part 6.
Now we are going to check analysis of popular puzzle game ad creatives. First, we are going to check top 10 ad copies by language. Ad copies means text on ad creatives. And most of the language that was used in ad copies was English. There's no doubt for that. In the second place, we can see Japanese, and in the third place, we can see Portuguese. And here, types of ad copies. For example, in their ad copies, we can see lots of emojis. Maybe when you see an ad creative, you see lots of emoji. Emoji makes it very attractive. And exclamatory in the second part. As we see here in popular ad copies, for example, they give title like this. There's star, and it says new puzzle game, and there's also another star. And text, think you can do better. And there's also an emoji, like thinking emoji. And make sure you are up to new challenges. Like also another emoji with sunglasses. So those kind of emojis are very popular in ad copies. And also we can see some exclamatory, and we can see some hearts in ad copies. Now we are going to check some more ad creatives. So there are some successful ad creatives example in puzzle games. I want to first start with the real people playing the game. So this is a very successful game ad creative strategy. You see in the first one, you can see one character is playing the game. And she mentions about the game while playing the game. And it makes it very attractive, creative. As we see in the second chart, the first chart. And in the second part, we can see real people's game commentaries. This is also gaining very popularity. One character, it can be like a famous person or normal, ordinary person, makes comments about the games. In this, probably Portuguese or Spanish, it says, this game is like this game is like this, and they are showing some parts from the games. And this is also a very successful example of real people's game commentaries in ad creatives. And in the third part, live action videos. Live action videos are also gaining popularity in ad creatives for puzzle games. For example, there are also subtitles. You are an awkward on first date. They are talking about first date. What's up? I'm great. They are giving some real examples from real life, and they are connecting it with the game. And this is also another successful story for games. And we will check more ad creatives examples. Some ad creatives for puzzle games like smashing. As you see, they are first showing one part from real life. There's a smashing. It makes people like, oh, what's going to happen? There's a smash. It attracts people. And then the creative goes to the play game. And in the second part, cutting. Cutting is also a very relaxing content, trying to attract people to watch as much as possible, as you see in the second part. And then the creative goes to the real gameplay. And in the third part, we can see compressing. This is also very interesting, and very people really like those kind of things when they see compressing and it goes to the real game. So in all of these three creatives starts from real life and it goes to gameplay, so they are correlating real life and gameplay. So this makes very attractive those kind of games. And lastly, I want to mention about some other examples of puzzle games ad creatives. Those are best successful ad creatives examples. In the first part, we can see clumsy. It's like a failure. And in the second part, again, we can see failure. Those are all failure elements. I mentioned about the failure. Failing the game is also a common pattern in creatives for puzzle games. Losing the game makes people to download the game and play the game and solve the problem, why there's a failure here. For example, when I see some those kind of ad creatives, I can say, why there's a failure here? I can do much better from this person. So I want to play the game. I want to play the game. So those were some successful examples of ad creatives. And this is at the end of my presentation. If anyone has questions, I will be glad to answer. Thank you so much. I think we have no question. Okay, thank you so much for listening to me.